Clarissa, explain that.
I hated that. Alright, can we go? Okay. So, everyone think back to when you were a kid, and think about your favorite childhood activity. You liked it, right? Obviously. Okay, now imagine if someone told you you weren't allowed to do that anymore. On February 10, 2010, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the CPSC, proposed the Consumer Product Safety Improvement Act. This act states that all used products containing more than 600 parts per million ppm of lead are prohibited. This law was passed in an attempt to regulate the amount of lead contained in products intended for children 12 and under. However, this law was written so broadly that it governs such things as books, clothes, and toys. Having that been said, the United States of America is prohibited from selling dirt bikes intended for children under 12. Dirt bikes have been around since the 1930s and has become a worldwide sport that all can enjoy. Despite the downfall in our current economy, the industry continues to thrive and is growing in demand. The ban of dirt bikes would create a decrease in the worth of merchandise, cuts in family ties, decrease in sales, and a decrease in jobs worldwide. The act would also place children in more hazardous situations, including having to ride dirt bikes that are unsuitable and dangerous for their size. These claims stand alone to prove my argument that the prohibition of dirt bikes for children under 12 is counterproductive to society. Dirt bikes are a part of a multi-million-dollar industry despite the recent recession. Although this country's economy has weakened with the spike of the financial crisis, the sale of off-road motor vehicles still continues to thrive. Dealer News, an industry trade publication, estimates that the value of inventory still left on showroom floors all over U.S. are at a high of over $100 million. With Congress's act imposed, all of the merchandise is sitting in factories worthless. With the average price of a dirt bike being around $3,000 according to eBay.com, the state of California alone can make around $250 in sales tax, if the average sales tax were at 8.25%. In an economy that is already looking for every route possible to spend less and make more, why not keep around one of the biggest industries in the country, biggest taxable industries in the country? The ban on dirt bikes hits California especially hard. Many families have grown accustomed to driving up to the high desert, getting gear from head to toe, and ripping sand. Riding is one of the most popular family sports in California. With several state parks devoted to riding alone, people from all around the country travel to California just for this purpose. Tracks around the state host professional riding events like the Supercross Series, Nationals, and Dealer Series. Most professional riders start riding at a very young age, which would require them to start off on little bikes. If the ban were to stay in effect, the children would not be able to ride at a young age, thus making it impossible for children to develop the skills that professional riders today have. Families also use dirt bikes as a way of teaching children a sense of responsibility, says Kevin Castle of Time News. He states, these type of bikes are the kind where kids learn to ride and they can learn to develop things like hand-to-eye coordination, motor skills, and balance, which can help them in their growth. The economy notwithstanding, enthusiasts say the ban needlessly kills a family-oriented sport where children ride with their moms and dads, and like other sports, can induce children to behave. The enforcement of this act would also decrease the amount in sales of off-road motor vehicles. William Melch of USA Today says that there is a 20% decrease in sales of used off-road motorcycles, and the parts business for bikes already sold. The main 5 bike manufacturers, Yamaha, Honda, Kawasaki, Suzuki, and KTM, have a large portion of their sales in the youth bracket. The industry would be so much of a different place without the production of the all-popular KX65 or CRF50. Not only would this act make it impossible to buy smaller bikes, it would also make it impossible to buy parts for smaller bikes sold before the act was established. Atlas Honda of Bristol, Virginia manager Dwayne Leonard says, "The vehicles are stored away, and if a parent comes in to buy one, I can't sell it. If they've already bought a used one and need parts for them, I can't sell them any." With issues like these to deal with, more of a downward spiral is at hand worldwide. If the sale of used bikes is prohibited, production would also cease. This can only lead to one thing: unemployment. All the dirt bike manufacturers have production set up overseas. If America isn't allowed to sell used-sized dirt bikes, there's no sense making them, thus creating a loss for jobs for the people overseas. William Melch of USA Today states that, according to the Motorcycle Industry Council, although bikes aren't made in the U.S., we employ an estimated 124,000 people in the sales, service, and parts department of dealerships here in the U.S. and overseas. Many companies would harbor great losses financially and could be in fear of bankruptcy. Industry leaders say some 13,000 dealerships nationwide are left with merchandise that cannot be sold. The dirt bikes aren't even allowed to be on the showroom floor. Rendering such a loss is a wake-up call to many that something needs to be done. Let's take a look at why the act is being enforced anyway. Dirt bikes, as well as other off-road machinery, contain lead in levels that is higher than what the CPSC deems suitable for children under 12. Yes, dirt bikes do contain more than 600 ppm of lead, such as the kickstart, brake and clutch levers, throttle controls, engine housing, tire valve stems, the list goes on and on. I pose this question to you, however. Do any of these items seem like something you'd want to put into your mouth? Yeah, thought not. We aren't talking about 2-year-olds going out into the track and putting a spark plug in their mouth. The idea that the CPSC has for children being exposed to too much lead would be tolerable if any of these parts that contain too much lead were coming into contact with any part of the body that could absorb the lead. There isn't any evidence that supports the notion that lead can be absorbed from any part of the body other than the mouth in harmful amounts. Safety is also an issue that's aroused when talking about the ban of youth-sized dirt bikes. Paul Vetrano, a general counsel for the Motorcycle Industry Council, says the ban will have a reverse effect. He states, rather than no longer riding, kids who can't get a cycle their size will hop on a bike intended for older children or adults, one inappropriate for and dangerous for a small child. Even the agency administering the ban understands it might be counterproductive. If the CPSC is really doing this for children's safety, then why are they only looking at this from such a broad spectrum? So as you see, there are many areas being overlooked which could potentially bring about a greater risk for children than sticking a battery terminal in their mouth. Dirt bikes are a part of a $1 million industry, which up until February 10th was thriving for more. With Congress's act imposed on the economy, more than $100 million of bikes and parts would have to be ripped from the floors and thrown in a warehouse somewhere worthless. If the economy really wants to make money like they say they do, why not tax them things like this instead of, say, cuts to education every year? The idea that millions of Americans wouldn't be able to take their families to places in California specifically designed for riding isn't necessary. Prohibiting the sale of used-sized dirt bikes would in the end do more damage to sales departments, closeness of families across the U.S., the stability of the economy worldwide, and the safety of the child. Despite what Congress may or may not think, children aren't dumb. They're not going to pick a piece off a dirt bike and stick it in their mouth, nor are they going to run up to a dirt bike and put it in their mouth. If children's safety is really the main priority, the CPSC should not take away something that is intended and designed specifically for children. So as I close my argument, I hope that my evidence has proven to be exceptional in helping you to agree with me. In the words of Chase Hanser, a 6-year-old rider from Boston, Massachusetts, please let me have my dirt bike. I promise I won't eat it.
All right, I like the visualization at the beginning. The claim is not as clear as it could be. It seems you kind of have the preview before the proposition, and that was a little confusing. When you do set up the supporting points, though, they're pretty clear. I didn't think that the signposting internally was as clear as it was in the preview. And in the summary, the same kind of thing. I thought you did a pretty good job right at the end. You know, not that I have it down as the last line, it's actually maybe the second or third to last line. You do have a good summary kind of statement there. I thought you had a good exit line too, and that adds a lot of credibility and makes your speech a little bit more enjoyable there. I thought you did an excellent job citing evidence, finding a diversity of information to cite. I'm not sure if I'm still not sure if I wanted the lead argument that you have at the end, if that should have been earlier in the speech, or maybe even background on the speech before you got to the claim about the impact, because it really suggests maybe two different directions that you're going on. One about whether or not this is going to produce anything that's better and beneficial for us, and one that talks about the negative consequences. So there are really kind of two competing claims that are going on in the argument there, and I think you're trying to sneak them both in, and I think there's a way to do that. I'm just not sure it's the way you did it here. But otherwise, everything else was really solid. All right. Thank you very much. We appear to be done.